Do you need to air down your vehicle's tires when you go off-roading, or is it just a mythological ritual? That's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to talk about airing down when going off-road, and we don't do it. We've actually never aired down our vehicle, and we've gone on many off-road trails without a problem. So let's talk about it. Should you air down or should you not air down? What's the truth? What's not the truth? Well, let's talk first about why we've never aired down, and that's due to what airing down does for a vehicle, specifically its traction. By airing down, you kind of flatten the tire and increase the contact patch of the rubber to the surface. In other words, making the tires almost like into tank treads. More contact, more traction. That's ideal on all sorts of surfaces, but specifically it's ideal on loose, sandy surfaces. And since we rarely have gone up a trail that had a very, very loose, sandy surface, with the exception of Competition Hill, we've never had to air down. We've done just fine. We've gone down plenty of intermediate and black diamond trails just fine. The traction is there without having to air down. But what if you want to air down for comfort? That's often a subject of airing down, and why you see people, before they get on the trail, they start taking the air out of the tires, and they say it's to make the ride more comfortable. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on today, is specifically the airing down for comfort. Like we just mentioned, it's easy to conceptualize that when you flatten these tires, you get more rubber to the road and you're going to get more traction. So if that's what you need, go for it. But when we start talking about airing down to make a softer, less jarring ride, that's where things kind of get interesting. Because in general, when you air down in an attempt to get comfort, you're actually making the ride worse. Why? Because your tires essentially act as air cushions. So just like an air mattress or an air spring, with a certain volume and pressure of air inside the tire, it's actually going to absorb those shocks. So when you're going down washboarded roads, you want to actually have air in your tires. If you air down and take them down too low, you're actually going to make the ride worse, and you're going to crash through those washboards. We actually live on very nasty washboard roads out here in the desert for over a decade. So, tons of experience going down nasty washboard roads. And if you take your tires aired down over washboards, it's actually going to make it worse. So why we don't air down in those situations where we want comfort is because it's actually going to make the ride worse. What makes the ride better is actually having a certain volume of air. Now, if you put too much air, and I think this is where some of the confusion may lie. If you put too much air, you're going to get that basketball effect. That's the best way I can describe it. Put too much air in a basketball, you bounce it, and it bounces right back up. And that can create a jarring sensation. That overinflation is not what you want either. So we keep our GX air pressure right around stock. We did add a little bit more air pressure, incidentally, to get more comfort on washboard roads when we added all this aftermarket junk. This steel bumper weighs too much, the sliders weigh too much, and all the skids weigh too much. So that added weight, we actually compensate by raising the air pressure slightly over stock. In this vehicle, it's 32 psi cold. We raised it up to about 34, 35 to accommodate for that weight. Because when you add more weight, it's going to preload your kind of air springs in your tire and make them less effective. But let's talk about this whole concept of airing down for comfort as it relates to other vehicles, because here's the thing. There's no one cookie cutter, one size fits all answer for what your air pressure should be. A lot of people, you'll see maybe if they have that new Ford Bronco with those big tires, and they'll air down. And they'll air down relatively lower, and they'll have a softer ride. Well, it's all relative to what they were, what kind of air pressure they had at street pressure. Some people have their tires at 60 psi, 70, 80 psi or higher. And that's, again, unique to whatever vehicle you're using, whatever tire you're using, whatever pressure you got going on. It's unique to that vehicle. So you can't say, well, that Jeep aired down and they're okay, so it should apply to this vehicle as well. Every vehicle's different. So keep that in mind, that a lot of trucks you see might be at a super high air pressure. And so when they do go off-road and lower that down, they still have an air cushion. And they're getting a softer ride aired down. So they get the best of both worlds. More traction and still have a floaty, soft ride over washboards. This particular vehicle, the GX460, with its stock tire size, even though these are KO2s, they're stock size. So with this particular vehicle, you can only air down so much before it starts feeling jarry. And you can only air up so much before it starts feeling bouncy. So the goal is to find the sweet spot for your vehicle and your particular application. There's no one answer. So the answer to airing down for comfort comes down to finding the sweet spot. But it's not going to be what he did, what she did. It's going to be trial and error and something you're going to have to figure out. So just get out there, change the air pressures, and find what works for you. There is no one answer for any one vehicle. The answer for this particular vehicle is to, with its added fat, is to actually keep it around 34 or 35 psi for the softest ride over washboard surfaces. If we go lower, and we've tried it, take the air down, it starts crashing, starts getting jarry. Take the air up to see how it feels. Go ahead and experiment with your car. Try that off-road and you'll feel the bouncy. What you want is that sweet spot and you'll be good to go. Again, remember, this has nothing to do with getting more traction. If you need traction, go ahead and flatten your tires to get that tank tread effect. But if you're looking for comfort, it's about the sweet spot, not necessarily a magic number PSI. So go find your sweet spot. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you and have a great day.